Oh, happy Thursday, everybody. I hope everybody had an incredible long Memorial Day weekend. Remember what we celebrated for, that's for sure. Never forget, pay tribute to our great men and women throughout the ages that have given the ultimate sacrifice that enabled us to have our grilling and our cocktail and our 3-day weekend. So really paying tribute, but I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. I know I sure did. Oh, I tell you what, great show tonight. You're going to want to stick around. Another great show brought to you by one of our sponsors, Provaco Publishing and Publicity out of London, England. Just a great outfit. So appreciate their sponsorship. Going to be a great show. A little bit of quick housekeeping. Please check the links in the description. Please consider supporting the show. Cheap cup of coffee, all it takes at our Buy Me a Coffee link. We'd certainly appreciate it. And check out our merch page, new and improved. Oh, we found a great new drop shipper. I tell you what, it's higher quality, cheaper, better shipping price, but just some great goods. Our t-shirts have like 9 colors now, and we even have this sexy new ladies tank top. You're gonna want to check it out. So check out the merch link as well. Well, I hope everybody has a cocktail. I'm on my Mick Ultra, trying to get summer ready for the sailboat, get my girlish figure back. But hope you got a good cocktail and can join us tonight and help me welcome to the stage the incredible author from England, Nigel Stewart. Oh, Nigel, my friend, how are you doing? I'm so glad you could finally make it on the Cocktails with Cav show, bud. How are you?
It's great to be here, and thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, well, I tell you, the pleasure's all mine, that's for sure. Looking forward. I know you got some great work coming down the pipe, and man, we'd love to talk about that in a few minutes. But I tell you what, Nigel, we love the viewers to get to know the creators, and man, tell us a little about yourself. I love to hear it, that's for sure.
Right, well, potted history then. I was born in the northeast of England, and I grew up a long way from there in Hereford, which is famous for bulls and cattle and cider, and for me, I guess. And then I've kind of moved around the country with work, and settled where I live now about 35 years ago. And I live in the northwest of England, as we were just saying, nearest cities that people have probably heard of, Manchester and Liverpool, but my hometown is called Kirkham. It's an old mill town, which sadly doesn't do that anymore. But it's okay.
Yeah, that's it. Nice rural areas, basically.
I can walk into lovely green fields with cows and sheep in about 2 minutes. So that's
nice. Very nice. Yeah. Liverpool. Nobody in America has ever heard of Liverpool, I don't think. Who? No.
I that's just the easy reference point I find, because I have a day job and I've spent a lot of time working with American colleagues, and that's what I tend to use as the kind of default. Well, that's the nearest place. Yeah.
Oh, you have to work with Yanks a lot? What kind of work do you do?
I work in the IT sector, and specifically in contract management. So, and the company's American owned. So, I spend a lot of time talking with you guys.
I imagine so. Well, what got you into writing? I know you've been at it a while.
Yeah, I think all through my teen years, and really from the age of about 9, music was my main kind of creative driver. I learned the piano as a kid. I sang in a cathedral choir, played the trumpet. And then by the time I was 15, 16, I just wanted to be in a band. And I played keyboard in a band, and we wrote our own songs. And I think, although they weren't great, I think writing lyrics for that music was the first real kind of use of creative, use of using words creatively. And I think that carried on right through my 20s. And during that time, I started work, and I started to do a lot of work with written stuff, whether it was policy documents. I was constantly writing. I was constantly using words, constantly getting used to the idea that you had to convey a message succinctly. And I think one of the other things that I'd throw in as well is that I'm not that young, and when I first left home, we didn't have phones, we didn't have email, we didn't have the internet, so you
don't look that old to be before Alexander Graham Bell. Oh, you meant cell phones. I'm sorry.
No, I'm quite serious in a way. I mean, we houses often that students lived in didn't have phones.
Right.
So when everybody went off to university and I went off to work, we kept in touch by writing letters to each other. And I think that's the point I was going to make, is that was quite important, because you were expressing a lot of things about what you were feeling and what you were doing to people that you knew really well from school. But now, you maybe saw them twice a year. So I think that was really important. It might seem like nothing, but I think it was a big thing. And I think that
it's definitely lost art,
Yeah, I think so. And we're talking to each other on machines, but I think sitting down and handwriting anything these days is hard work.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when did you start churning out, literature?
Well, I think that came when I had a change of home, and I found that I didn't like the music scene because it was all covers bands, and I didn't want to play in a covers band. So I started thinking, well, I'd like to do something creative, and I just had this idea for a book. I didn't really know what I was doing. I think it was a massive vanity project in lots of ways, but I just started mapping out this story, and I finished it in about 4 years, and then it sat on a shelf and didn't get touched, except for bits of dabbling,
Right.
And then about 20 years later, I realized that there was this thing called self-publishing, and I just then started working on it really hard, and with the objective of self-publishing it, and that's what I did in 2016. And I think that led to, I thought at first that was it, that was the one novel that everybody has in them. And then I realized that I liked it. I liked the idea of writing. I liked the buzz I got from people saying, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, having interviewed, obviously a lot of indie creators that have self-published, because it is, that it's one of those things where you have to be the marketer, but it opens up, and indie creators are close to my heart, obviously. It opens up a way to get your work in front of people that used to never be available, like you said. I mean, if you're relying on legacy publishers, it's
and I think
the gatekeepers.
I think just being able to say, because I think the marketing thing was hard, and I don't find that particularly easy.
Right.
Maybe we'll talk about that later on when we talk about Rocco. But I think what I felt was just being able to hold this thing in my hand and say to people, I've done this. And eventually that led to a connection, which was a different indie publisher. And they picked up that book, and we rebranded it, and we rewrote some of it. And that was so in my head, that was the start. That was when it kind of got serious. And I did 3 books with them. And then I was looking for a new direction, and that's when I started work on Justinian's Daughters.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, and I tell you, yeah, I think one of those things for creators is, like you said, holding this thing in your hand. It's a baby, isn't it? It's a baby.
Honestly, I'll never forget the I got some proof copies from it was the Amazon. It was called Create Space, I think. It was their self-publishing tool, and I got a proof copy because I did it all myself. I just did it all the line setting and all the font and all that sort of stuff. And I thought it was perfect. At least it looked it on screen. And this book fell through the door, and I looked at it, had a name on it, and I just thought, that's it, I've done it. And I opened it, and it was dreadful. It was just shocking. And you're just never prepared for the difference between how something looks on screen than it does in a book. It's not even the same as when it's printed on A4 paper,
Right. Well, it's something though, and it's definitely the art of self-publishing has definitely come a long way. As technology gets exponentially better too, and there's.
I think that's what's great about publishers like Provoco. They're kind of taking all that pain away from me, and I like that because I got a day job. So I think whilst I would happily go back to self-publishing, I'd rather work with other creatives, and I think
right. And well, tell us about your relationship with Provoco, because like I've as I interview authors that have an association with Provoco as an indie publisher. That gives that support, nothing but glowing reviews, obviously, and so, tell us a little about your relationship and how you got involved. And
I'd finished Justinian's Daughters, and I knew it was really different from what I'd done before. And for the first part of maybe the first 4 months of 2022, I was genuinely going to try and find an agent and look for a traditional publishing deal, and I entered it into some prizes, and it all felt like it was a bit of a going nowhere. So I just made a decision to stop doing that and start looking for indie publishers, and I'd come across Provoco, but I went to maybe 10, and I started saying, well, you're interested, do you want me to do a submission? And Jane's reaction was very different. She said, well, I've read your books and I really like what those, how you've done those. So she kind of took a chance, and she had a good look at Justinian's Daughters in its draft format and said, yeah, I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
and I think go on.
Crazy. Just you're right. I mean, like you said, when that approach that they have for indie creators that are struggling to get that work there. So it's amazing, I think.
It wasn't a difficult choice in the end, because I think and maybe this says a lot about me, but it involved the least work. There was
Hey, that doesn't say a lot about you. It says a lot about what we have to do as creators. Anything that can take something off your plate,
And seriously, that's a big part of it, because I think just knowing that it was liked and knowing that it would be in safe hands was a big part of that for me. And I think we did some great work on that book in terms of the cover and the design. And right from the start, I think it had a wow factor. It's actually my favorite of my 5 books. I think, to get back to your question, I think what I saw in Provoco was a place that wasn't too defined as anything. I like what I saw on the webpage was different writers doing different things. So I didn't feel like I had to fit in with anything. I could just be me as part of that portfolio.
Nah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for a supportive group that lets you keep your story. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
But well, I tell you, Nigel, I have to refill my cocktail. It's about 90 degrees and a wet wool blanket of humidity here in New Orleans. But when we come back, man, please we'll take a little brief break.
Sure.
We'll come back and, man, let's tear into your work and some of the projects you got going on. Love to talk about it.
Yeah, I look forward to it too. See you in a bit.
Right.
Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick mid-roll break, real fast, just to please remind you, check out my Linktree, Linktree/Reed Kavanaugh, scrolling down below for you. Can't miss it. I tell you what, it has all the great information you need, from the latest Cocktails with Cav episode, great indie creator interviews, as well as our latest offering, the great Cocktails with Cav After Hours Live. Oh, you're not going to want to miss that. That show is a lot of fun, with producer Drunk Doug and I unwinding and discussing the latest hot topics. But also, look, our audio-only podcast link on Spotify, as well as all the links you'll need to support the show, and our other social media links where you can find us and follow and help the show out. So please, again, check out my Linktree. It's at the top of my X profile as the link, and is also scrolling right below you, Linktree/Reed Kavanaugh. Check us out. Wow, that's a pretty good trailer there.
It's amazing.
Oh, well, thanks for hanging with me. I got refilled. We got to see your trailer for the book you began talking about just before the break. Yeah, I tell you what, just Justinian's Daughters. Why don't you tell us a little about it?
It's a book that I could spend way more time than we got talking about, but I think what happened was, I was in this part of Wales where it's set, doing a bit of walking and doing a bit of writing. And I increasingly found that that whole place has got this real mysticism and kind of elemental thing going on. And it is the home of the patron saint of Wales, St. David. And there's also an old wartime airfield there from World War II. And I was just constantly getting these things flowing into me. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but it's how it was. And I kind of knew that I wanted to write something a bit different from what I'd written before. Maybe be a bit more macabre, but not like go fully into horror, because that's just not me. And I think the story developed with me basically coming up with the idea that this place was where people constantly arrived and made things happen, you know, with some sort of authority, but they didn't care how it affected the people that lived there and the people in that community. And yeah, it just all grew from there, really. The idea that you've got these women to whom men have done bad things, and really it's a story about revenge and justice over 108 years.
Oh, wow. That sounds fascinating. I'm telling you, especially a long span of time to break down. And I bet you probably had a lot of area to work with and expand the story, you know, going across a century.
Yeah. And I think what I like, because I said I didn't want it to be horror, I think where I did feel that it sat was in the supernatural kind of arena. But what I love about it is that you never actually know whether or not these characters that are carrying out all of these vengeance acts are witches, or, you know, are they supernatural or not? And I love that because it kind of keeps it open-ended.
Oh, God, it sounds like a fascinating tale, that's for sure. And you have your new new launch coming. I believe you're working on now, The Road Home, your
This
latest
is
project.
Yeah, this has been published.
Yes.
It's been out since November.
Oh,
And
okay.
I mean, that's just a totally different story. It's a totally different idea. And this is a book about rootlessness, really, and somebody who has grown up effectively as an orphan. He's raised by his sister because their parents deserted them as kids, and he's done okay. He's grown from that and learned to kind of find his way in the world and be successful at business. But he's got a dark side that he isn't really aware of. So he sets off on this journey, and it's not a cliched kind of road trip. You know, it's not that thing about middle-aged man goes off and finds himself. It's because this guy doesn't know he's lost. He doesn't know there's anything wrong with him. But it deals with so I think the purpose of the road trip is that he goes to visit places that he would never otherwise have gone, and he visits old cathedrals. And in those he finds a kind of certainty and love, and you know, it's a metaphor for those things. And then once he gets so far around his kind of trip, he meets a woman, and from that point it's a love story. But I think it also deals with this guy's denial about his mental health problems, and that was a big part of it for me, because you know, I think that's something that men in particular are not great at admitting to.
Yeah, sounds like I need to read it. It might hit home. No, I'm in utter denial, Nigel. I'll just let you know now.
Well, I mean, you know, I had some problems with my own mental health, but I didn't do that. As soon as somebody said to me, you know, go and see a doctor, I did it. But I think what it does reflect is what happened to my brother, which, you know, he just didn't deal with the fact that he was ill. Right. And I think a mark on me. That's quite a long time ago now. But that's left a mark on me, and I drew on that a little bit with this character by sort of saying some of the things that I saw my brother do. So yeah, it's quite dark. I think that's a feature of most of what I write. It's not very happy and clappy, you know.
Right. No, well, it's definitely some very, very good body of work you have going on, and you have a big event coming up, I believe. On the 6th of June or so, I believe.
Yeah, 6th of June. Jane from Provoco and David, another author from the Provoco stable, getting together at a library here in the town near me. And we're going to be there for 5 hours. The library are, you know, really enthusiastic about it, doing lots of publicity for it. And the idea is that we'll just sit and write, but we'll also spend time talking to people, doing readings, and generally just maybe raising a bit of awareness that you know, I'm in the area, David's in the area, and also a bit of awareness about Provoco.
Oh, I tell you, that is I love those events. I love author meet and greets and you know, those kind of things, because like I said, that was kind of the purpose of the show. You know, when I started it, was just so people could get to know the creators, you know, and build that relationship a little bit.
I think that what's great about this as well is it's not like a launch, you know, it's not, there's none of that nervousness about that. It's just, here we are, you know, ask away if you want to know something. We could talk about our writing process. We can talk about just about anything, but it's not just about one of us. And I think that's really good. Really like that.
Yeah, it is. I think I probably drew on that when I started the show, because it's one of my favorite things, you know. And I think that's what I always say, you know, Cocktails with Cav is like, you know, the author meet and greet at the library, except you can stay in your underwear and be home. And we'll bring the authors to you. But oh, well, Nigel, look, man, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of your schedule to come on the show. Share a little bit of your background and your great body of work with us, and yeah, if you want to tell everybody your screen name on X, you know, get you some follows out of this, buddy.
It's at me Nigel Stewart. Can I put it into chat? No, that won't work, will it?
I tell you what, the links will be in the show description for all you folks out there. I'll make sure we have Nigel's handle on X please give him a follow. He's been a great guy to get to know and chat with. Great author. And by all means, please be on the lookout. His links will be in the show description as well for, all of his great work, including the ones we talked about today, Justinian's Daughters, and The Road Home. So by all means, please check out Nigel, give him a follow. And Nigel, again, I know I've said it before, bud, but I was privileged to have you on the show. I appreciate you, buddy.
It was my pleasure. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
All right. Good luck on your event on June 6th, buddy. Cheers to you.
Cheers, George. Nice to meet you. Take care.